In oil and gas, you don't, especially when you're direct non-op working interest. It is an active tax deduction immediately. The IRS tax code, the U.S. government tax agency, recognizes that once an individual has invested directly in an oil and gas well, that they took a risk, and up to $100,000, they are actually able to write off 100% of their investment against their capital gains, W-2 income, any additional income. And then for any investments that are above 100,000, so for our investors that might do 500,000 up to $1 million, they'll be able to write off at minimum, due to the IRS tax code, at minimum 70% in year one.
Welcome to the Texas Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview Texas real estate professionals from active real estate investors, lenders, property managers, and many others that provide goods and services into the real estate investing industry in the great state of Texas. Our goal is simple: to share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level, and to meet the pros that can help you get there. Texas Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs build the business they need to live the life that they've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Rey Treviño, is an oil and gas expert at PECOS. You can find him on LinkedIn, Rey Treviño III, MBA. Rey, thanks for taking the time today.
Oh, Dylan, well, thank you so much for having me, and just super excited to be here. You and your team have just been doing so much providing knowledge to the real estate game, especially for the single family, which that is going to be such a need for the next 50 years. So just continue up all the great work, man. And thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate that, man. And what's really interesting about the single family space, particularly in Texas, right, is that you have really what I would consider to be cost-effective homes on the grand scheme of things being built. You know, some of the national builders, corporate builders, you're finding homes, you know, outside of the major metros for $240,000, brand spanking new. So there is a little bit of a lower cost to entry. But what I want to dive in with you here today, Rey, if we can get into the weeds a little bit, is the idea of how people get into oil and gas investing. Because I've spoken with folks, you know, who are doing some very high level things in oil and gas, but of course you don't start there, right? And so I've also spoken with folks who've literally graduated from single family investing to small multifamily to large multifamily apartment complexes and the like, and then they've managed to get into oil and gas. So I'll ask you, Rey, what's the on ramp? How do people get into oil and gas investing in Texas?
Yes, definitely one way, and the best way is to talk to an energy expert, see who they're working with as far as their oil and gas investments go in their portfolio. Make no doubt about it, just like in real estate, it's always great to be boots on the ground, but just like in real estate, we don't start off all boots on the ground in any investment that we make. And so there is a lot of that Hollywood lore about oil and gas, and the only way you can actually invest in oil is because your great grandfather owned mineral rights back in the 1800s, and that now you can drill on them today. But that is nothing but farthest from the truth these days. Mineral rights now are being sold left and right, and those are actually here in Texas, the mineral ownership underneath the ground. So in Texas, you're able to own the minerals under the ground and or the surface above the ground, and you can separate the two. And so what a lot of people now are doing are finding ways to lease these minerals and then be able to drill and, more importantly, produce oil on these minerals all across the great state of Texas. And because we live in such a friendly state of drilling here in Texas, anybody can get into it. For even an investment cost of buying your first single family down payment on a home, you can get into oil and gas for the same cost that, just like real estate, will provide you not only active tax benefits immediately, but long-term revenue for the next 20, 30 years.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Let me ask you a super granular question. This is just because I'm a little ignorant here, Ray. So forgive me for this. You mentioned, getting in on the down payment of a home. Of course, people aren't setting up an oil well for a down payment on a home. So is this some type of fund or syndication, which like people are pooling their money and investing in oil in that way?
Yes, that's a great way to look at it. At PECOS, we do a lot of direct non-op working interest where our investors actually can legitimately say they own an oil and gas well. And that's where the active tax deductions come into play. But that's exactly right, that basically when you have the working interest, there is only 100% working interest. And so if a well costs maybe, I don't know, $1 million, then that means that 10% of that well would cost $100,000. And that would be for the drill, test, and completion of that well. So if you had an investor that wanted to come in for like a 5%, which is kind of the average down payment these days, they'd be able to write a check for $50,000 and be able to then have 5% of the working interest and 5% of the expenses that go into that well or wells, depending how the deal is actually structured. And then that would be their fees every month on top of their revenue every month. So for another example, we'll use that 5% again example. The well makes $100,000 for the month. They earn 5% of that. So that means they earned $5,000. And then let's say the expenses for the month total were $10,000. So now they owe 5% of the 10,000, which would be $500. So that means their net revenue check would be around $4,500 for the month.
Now,
Yeah.
I want to take a little bit of a step back here and ask you, because I've seen this, and it doesn't happen often, but I have seen people who are selling like oil wells, if I'm using the right terminology here. And I don't know how to underwrite an oil well. I'm looking at underwriting, commercial multifamily, and that can be challenging, let alone, an oil well. And so one of the things that I think about is, well, if I'm getting these opportunities across my desk, they have to be coming to folks like yourself all the time. What kind of due diligence, are people doing to underwrite these deals? And then how do you underwrite a deal like that?
That's a great question. And I will say this, as you get more and more involved in your trade, no different than you guys in real estate, you get more and more individuals that are expert savvy in their different positions within the industry. So as we've continued to grow and become more and more boots on the ground over the last 20 years, we have access now to better geology. We have access to better geologists. We also have access to the title opinions, the landman, and we have groups that are always working with us to find these leases and or these wells that may already be producing oil. And then we've got to get the engineers involved, whether it's a petroleum engineer or a reserve engineer, to see how much more oil these already existing wells might be able to produce, or how much oil will these new wells produce over an X amount of time frame, which then all ties into what is the value of that oil. Because as we know, as we talk today, the price of oil has fluctuated $5 to $10 over the last week and a half.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the fluctuation, this brings in another area, which if you're in Texas, you certainly know this, the seasonal nature of the oil business. I'm not in the oil business, but I've seen it firsthand where, it seems like depending on, political climate and depending on, where the price of oil is at, this can drive industry. For our audience and for myself who may not be familiar with what's exactly the reason behind this, why does there seem to be, good times and then, you could call it lulls in the oil and gas space?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
The easiest way to answer that is actually say that it would be called the uncertainty cost that's added to the cost of a barrel of oil. Whenever we may or may not have a president that is anti-oil, we know that prices due to Wall Street will go up. If we have a president that's pro-oil, we'll see Wall Street back off on that a little bit. If we see a disturbance in the Middle East, the factors will come into play so importantly that then the price may even change right then and there. However, here in the great state of Texas, we produce almost 6 million barrels of oil a day alone. And the United States produces almost 14 million barrels of oil. That means that Texas produces almost half of the United States oil every day. And because of all the oil that we produce as a nation, our energy security is so much more dominant than it was even 6 and 7 years ago. We're not even drilling as many wells as we were 3 years ago, but yet we're producing more oil than we were 3 years ago. And that's because of technology and the efficiency that oil and gas companies are only continuing to do and put behind the drill bit so that not only do we continue to thrive as a nation with our economy, but more importantly, so that our investors and other company shareholders can continue to receive monthly revenue.
Now, there's so much, I'd say right now specifically, there's a lot of talk about, the price of oil and certainly in Texas, every, everyone seems to be concerned about, where gas prices are going because we remember not so long ago, they were very low. I think my memory, if it's serving me correctly, it was like 2020 or something like this, where they were right around $1,
Mhm.
maybe even under. And I know that seems hard to even imagine now, but that's where it was when we talk about the price, where it hits the consumer's pockets, right? So when people are pumping their gas, and we see, you got prices in Texas, and you got prices in California, you got prices in New Jersey. I'm born in New Jersey, and there seems to be this huge discrepancy between what the price is in one state versus another. Do you know if that's due to like, hey, just logistics of getting gas to that location, or is it because there may be a unfavorable taxing and so forth in that locality?
Yes, that's a great question, Dylan. It has to do with logistics, supply chain, regulations, and policy that is set in each one of those locations and areas, going all the way down to the community taxes, to local taxes, to state taxes, and federal taxes. And make no doubt about it that when you're in places like New Jersey and California, there are more state tax on that gasoline per gallon than there are in places like Texas and Oklahoma. They only continue to add more and more in places like these states where they're looking at ways to deter individuals from actually buying oil and gas powered vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk specifically about the alternative energy, right? One of the things that I've noticed is it does seem to be, and I don't want to say entirely, but it does seem to be like there's almost a competition between electric and oil and gas. But I do think that you just can't, and I could be off base in this. You just can't easily abandon oil and gas. In fact, you may be able to supplement the two. Do you see? Is it always going to be a conflict between the two spaces, or is energy as a whole going to kind of come together at some point in time?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
If we want to see green energies actually become something of a significance in the world, they're going to need more hydrocarbons to produce, which means we're going to need more oil to make these engines and all this green actually become a thing, whether it's wind or solar. And one thing I do want to bring up that I'd like to talk about is the fact that you're in the Dominican Republic, and in the 1950s, the Dominican Republic nationalized natural gas. Now, I'm not for nationalizing anything, okay? Free market's the way to go. However, when they nationalized natural gas in the Dominican Republic, they required all homes to be heated with natural gas and all stoves to be used with natural gas. And then you look at the neighbor on the same island of Haiti that has used up all their luscious green rainforest to provide heat and cooking material, and it is a ruined place. And look at the difference on one island on what natural gas has done to provide a strong ecosystem and economy in a country side by side.
What's the and forgive me again because I'm so new to this process, but when folks are extracting natural gas, uh, what types of obstacles and opposition do they come against? Is this like as extensive as an oil well? What's and also too, is this going to be dependent on the climate and the state that it's in, or is permitting for natural gas, say, maybe easier to acquire than permitting for an oil well?
know. Most of the time, whenever we're looking at permitting, whether it's an oil or natural gas well, I know for us at PECOS, we go ahead and just do a permit for both, just in case we have both oil and natural gas that we can produce from that well. And during this administration right now, as you know, with on the real estate side, they're really pro oil and pro real estate, and they're trying to do their best to remove any red tape that they can to slow down permitting right now. And that's something that's been very exciting for us at PECOS to continue to permit and drill, and most importantly, produce oil during this time.
This is really out of left field. So if this is one you want to pass on, that's okay. But I know that there's 100% bonus depreciation happening for real estate portfolios, right? Especially ground up construction and this type of thing. Does something like similar to this exist in oil and gas? Are there like sizable tax deductions through the big beautiful bill that oil and gas is taking advantage of right now?
Yes, Dylan, there is. And I want to go back to the real estate, and I'm not an expert in real estate, but in order to get that 100% in real estate, you have to spend X amount of hours that year in real estate to get that. Is that correct?
I believe so. I believe so.
In oil and gas, you don't, especially when you're direct non-op working interest. It is an active tax deduction immediately. The IRS tax code, the U.S. government tax agency, recognizes that once an individual has invested directly in an oil and gas well, that they took a risk, and up to $100,000, they are actually able to write off 100% of their investment against their capital gains, W-2 income, any additional income. And then for any investments that are above 100,000, so for our investors that might do 500,000 up to $1 million, they'll be able to write off at minimum, due to the IRS tax code, at minimum 70% in year one off their capital gains or W-2 income, just for investing in oil and gas wells. And what the
Wow.
IRS recognizes is that on general, 70% of an oil and gas investment is the risk. The other 30% is the guarantee that you're going to produce oil.
Very interesting conversation. One of the things that strikes me is that, for folks who are thinking, well, I can't get into oil and gas. We just talked about a number of different ways, where folks, who may otherwise be thinking, I got to stay out of this can really get in. And one of those ways is going through folks like yourself over there at PECOS. Speaking of which, we are coming up on time here, Ray. Any new projects that you're working on? And then also, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so we're excited that we have a new project. We are a family office. That's one thing I don't think we really touched on today, that we've been in the oil and gas space for over 20 years. My father's been in it now for over 40. We're a family office, and our side of the portfolio that we work on is oil and gas and energy. We're excited that look, we will be partnering up with another long-standing family here in Texas to drill several wells. Would love to tell individuals about that. They can definitely go to LinkedIn to reach out and or pecosoperating.com. We also have a great podcast ourselves called The Crude Truth, where I bring on other industry experts and just talk about all the great things that we're doing in oil and gas. And I always just invite anybody to ask any questions. So please reach out any way possible.
Ray, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. If you're looking to take your business and your life to the next level, you really need to learn more about the Investor Fuel Mastermind. It's your shortcut to success. To learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other amazing entrepreneurs, 100% financing on your deals, member-only discounts, and so much more, please visit investorfuel.com/Texas. By the way, Investor Fuel is even Texas-based. Also, if you're interested in applying to be a guest on this very show, the Texas Real Estate Pro Show, please visit investorfuel.com/Texas. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app so you never miss another episode. We'll see you on the next show.